Glad to have you along this afternoon. Happy Saturday. Saturday, October 8th, and it feels like an October afternoon out here at Viking Field. Jordan King along with you here on WLA TV. Homecoming week coming to a close as the Vikings leave the field. Today, they face off against the Omro Foxes. Omro, 2 wins in the conference season, 2 wins overall this year for Omro, as they lost both their non-conference games, close one to Valders, and then got beaten pretty handily by Winnebago. The rest of the slate for the Foxes came in Flyway Conference play, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, throughout the day as being one of the tougher conferences in Divisions 4 and 5, or pardon me, 5 and 6, as it were. North Fond du Lac handled them very easily, as have most teams so far this season in the Flyway. Then had a couple of really tough games. Really, this stretch for Omro, it isn't easy at all in the Flyway. But when you have Springs, Campbellsport, and Mayville 3 out of 4 weeks, well, the only way that they get any worse than that is playing them 3 weeks straight like the Vikings did earlier this year. They lost to Springs big, lost to Campbellsport big, and then just last week lost 44-6, a 38-point loss to Mayville, and that was at home. Two of the 3 games of those were at home. So tough sledding for the Foxes as of recent times. They snuck a win in over Lamira by 1 point in there as well. So if you look at the comparable results so far for Omro and WLA, all 3 got beaten pretty handily both of them got beat pretty handily by all 3 of the conference's best teams, that being Springs, Campbellsport, and Mayville. And both of them have 1-point wins over Lamira, and both of them did it at Lamira. So very, very almost eerily similar stories for these two. The only difference in the record between being 2 and 5 at this point in the year and being 3 and 4 for the Vikings is a couple of non-conference wins for the Vikes. Now, WLA has North Fond du Lac coming up next week. You would assume that would be a win based on what everyone else has done against North Fond du Lac this season. Technically, the Vikings are below the threshold to make the playoffs, but you got to fill out a playoff. You got to fill out the playoffs. After all. And in doing so, some teams that aren't over 500 in conference play end up making it into the dance, so to speak. And just last night, if you watched Skit Night, which we'll talk about a little bit later on as well as the homecoming festivities rolled on last night, Coach Lair thinks that based on the strength of the Flyway Conference, you could make a case for the Vikings, if they win today and win next week, to be one of those teams that is 500 overall, under 500, yes, in the conference, but you can still make the case for the Vikings to make the playoffs. So be interesting for them. Obviously, if the Vikings lose here today, you can pretty much, as they say, stick a fork in you. The Vikings will not make the playoffs, being several games under 500 and being under 500 overall. So big couple of games for the Vikings, a lot left to play for. We weren't sure that would be the case, but with the way things have shaken out, there is still a chance, albeit an outside chance, for the Vikings to get into the playoffs, but you got to take care of business these next couple of weeks. And it starts today against an Omro team with a very unimpressive record, but one that is dangerous. And, you know, it just comes back to how tough the Flyway Conference is. Springs is ranked number 1 in Division 6. They look unbeatable right now. We'll see what Springs does in the final week of the season coming up on Thursday. They play against Mayville for a conference championship. And so that'll be interesting coming up on Thursday. How does Mayville fare against Springs, who looks very, very good right now? And Mayville does as well. But you go back to that last week win for Springs over Campbellsport, one that I'm sure a lot of people had their eyes on as being one of these games that would determine the Flyway Conference. Springs blows them out, goes to Campbellsport, and pretty much runs them off the field. It was really impressive from Springs last week. Now, I didn't get to see the game, so I don't know the story of that game, but the scoreline certainly was one that jumps out at you as being very, very interesting and really puts a marker down in the Flyway Conference. So what does next week look like? But Mayville's the number 2 team in the state in Division 5. So now you got 2 teams that may have a legitimate shot at winning a state championship this year, Schroffnagel and Middlestadt and everything that they do down in Mayville, and then obviously Hempfner and the crew over with Springs and Coach Highland today down in Lamira going for win number 500. So the Flyway Conference is really, really tough. You knew that was going to be the case. When Omro dropped their first 2 non-conference games, they probably had a feeling the record may not look good for Omro, but if you can win some of these other games in the Flyway Conference, the Lamira game's a big win for them. Obviously, they beat North Fond du Lac, so can Omro beat WLA? Can they beat Laconia in the final week to finish above 500 in the Flyway Conference? And then Omro is looking at being that 4th team in the Flyway. So right now it looks like Laconia probably in the catbird seat, so to speak, to be that 4th team right behind the top 3. But it's very, very interesting as you look at the way this Flyway Conference race is going to shake out. As I mentioned, it's homecoming this week, so we are going to hopefully talk to some of the coaches from some of the other sports here this afternoon. Got Coach Strafnagel of the girls basketball team slated to join us. Maybe some cross-country runners may join us, maybe Coach Coleman, who knows. But we're going to highlight all the sports here at WLA and try to give you a recap if you've forgotten how the last seasons went for all of these teams. If you haven't followed the fall sports, give you an update on that. Soccer got a 5 seed in the postseason. Volleyball looks to be winning a conference championship. Very, very impressive fall so far for a lot of the WLA sports. Got cross-country in there as well. So very, very interesting. All of that here on WLA TV. Hope you'll join us. If you can't be out here at homecoming, hope next best thing is to be with us here on WLA TV, right? So don't touch that dial if you can't get out here. Maybe you're cozied up. You don't really even need the heat today. You just got to get out of the wind. Let that nice warm sun hit you. Up here in the press box, it's perfect up here. No wind rolling through the press box, but you got the sun. It's gorgeous. And it's a gorgeous day for football. Let's send it over to Mr. Klukas on the PA.
Winnebago Lutheran Academy. Since 1954, this has been the home of the Vikings. This afternoon, we welcome our guests, the Foxes of Omro High School. Welcome to the players, coaches, parents, and other fans, as well as student body of Omro. Omro Foxes, you may take the field. The Foxes are coached by Dave Wellheffer. And today, we introduce the starting defense for your WLA Vikings. Starting at defensive tackle, number 55, Peyton Backery, along with honorary captain, his good buddy, Braden Brilski. Starting defensive tackle, number 61, Sebastian Paul. Starting defensive end, number 5, Noah Gensler. Starting defensive end, number 72, Captain Oscar Bloom. Starting at linebacker, number 20, Captain Jack Karst. Starting linebacker, number 22, Noah Schumacher. Starting linebacker, number 28, Brendan Eberts. Starting at linebacker, number 75, William Chuck Simmons. Starting at cornerback, number 21, Gannon Schwartz. Starting cornerback, number 23, Captain Cole Wiedmeyer. And starting safety, number 10, Captain Sam Lair. The Vikings are coached by Kevin Lair. Winnebago Lutheran Academy, Omro High School, and the WIAA require good sportsmanship at education-based sporting events. Attendance at interscholastic activities is a privilege with the expectation to exhibit positive and respectful behavior. For the enjoyment and respect of all in attendance, your cooperation in demonstrating the high ideals of sportsmanship is expected and gratefully appreciated. Today's officials: Brian Kraus, Bruce Schaefer, Matt Schaefer, Dave Steger, and Brian Schaefer. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to honor America and those who defend our freedoms, we ask those who are able to stand, remove your hats, place your hand over your heart for the singing of our national anthem, performed today by the WLA Traveling Choir under the direction of Mr. Dale Whitty. Thank you very much. Today's athletic trainer is WLA alum for homecoming, Dariah Sonnenfeld. Sports medicine services are provided through SSM Health, and we thank them.
Well, you can see it. Glad to have you along once again. We'll turn that down so we can get started up here. You can tell by that, the picture of the scoreboard, that it's a windy one out here. I mean, wind gusts probably peaking over 20 miles an hour, and it's chilly when you're out in the wind. You can find a place without it. It's really nice out here. That's where we are. We got ourselves a nice little spot up here. It is gorgeous for football, though. This is football weather. I see Pastor Zahn down on the sideline. He's not been with this team the whole season, but he helped build this program as Pastor Zahn. He's back for homecoming. He's down there on the sideline. I'm sure he can offer some insight to the Vikings down there as well. It's going to be the Foxes to send it back to the Vikings. And as you heard, one of the players deep for the Vikes is their starting cornerback today. A freshman is Gannon Schwartz. Upman takes it. I believe that was Keifenheim, perhaps. It was, and Cole Keifenheim gives the Vikings the ball at the 36-37 yard line, and good starting field position for the Vikings. We'll call it the 37, and that's where the Vikes will get going. And you know the dangerous people for the Vikes on offense. It usually starts with Cole Wiedmeyer in the backfield, and can they establish the ground game? From there, they like to hit some play-action pass, and their man is Noah Gensler more times than not. Gensler split out to the far side along with Noah Schumacher in the slot. It's Ebert and Wiedmeyer in the backfield. Under center, Lair quickly, bubble screen set up for Gensler. Get the ball in his hands. Gensler around the right side and has a first down. Quickly, gain of, well, call it 12 yards. Good start for the Vikings. And like I said, if you're the Vikings, you want to establish the ground early. They're going to say 11 yards on the pickup out to the 48 yard line. And yeah, you do. You want to establish that ground game early, but you also want to get the ball in the hands of the most dangerous player on the field. And while Wiedmeyer and Ebert and certainly Schumacher have the ability to go the distance, you're probably your best bet in terms of the big play is to get the ball to Gensler. Here's Schumacher ducking under a tackle, and he's going to pick up about 5 yards we'll give him on that carry. A nice start for Noah Schumacher. And Schumacher's really the third option out of the backfield. He runs a lot of these counters and sweeps certainly to the weak side from where they sometimes or usually run the ball, which is around that right side, oftentimes for the Vikings. It's going to be 2nd and 5. Wiedmeyer is, in addition to being the homecoming prince last night, is the leading rusher for the Vikings and the top option for them in the backfield. He's right behind Lair under center. Lair takes the give to Wiedmeyer, and Wiedmeyer trying to pick his way. Nice patient run from Cole, and he's going to pick up about 3. He needed 5, so it's going to be 3rd down. 3rd and short for the Vikings, though, and if you can, keep it into 3rd and manageables today, you're going to feel really good about where you are if you're the Vikings. So 3rd and 2 for WLA on this opening drive. This will be the 4th play, the first 3rd down opportunity if you're the Foxes to get off the field. Foxes have 4 linebackers out there and 3 defensive backs, addition to 4 kind of down players. And the Vikes run it straight up the middle. Don't think they got anything. And their first foray into Fox's territory is going to bring up a 4th and short. Maybe they, I'm going to say nothing on the gain there from Wiedmeyer. He maybe got a half yard. It's either a long 1 or 2 yards. Really looks closer to 2 out there for the Vikings on 4th down. They often sneak this. There it is. Sam Lair sneaks it up for, and as he's done so often, he gets 4 yards out of it. Now there is a flag on the far side. See what that is. An illegal substitution, I do believe. Too many men on the field. So a pickup of, well, I think they'll probably take the penalty because Lair got 4. The penalty will give him 5. So you should take the penalty here if you're WLA. They're going to decline it. It's the difference in maybe a yard there for the Vikings. So they decline it. 4-yard pickup stands for Sam Lair. Ball sits at the 40-yard line. And Lair will be in the shotgun for the first time this afternoon. Wiedmeyer's next to him, a cluster at the top, and Gensler solo at the bottom. They're going to go to the top of the field, batted away. That was a nice play by the middle linebacker, number 56, Nate Piper, who stepped into the passing lane expertly and batted the ball away. So 2nd and 10 for the Vikings as Lair comes to the near side to get the play call. Gannon Schwartz got an offensive play there as a wide receiver. He was right next to sophomore Miles McCauley, who's starting to carve out a bigger role for the Vikings as well. As the season has gone on, those two have seen the field more and more for the Vikes. And just trying to get these guys with speed on the edge. And McCauley and Schwartz definitely both have that. Here's Lair. The counter play back to Schumacher. Schumacher breaks the tackle and dives forward. He's down nearly to the 31. They'll mark him at the 32. So a pickup of 8, and it's going to be 3rd and 2. Another nice run for Noah Schumacher. He's so difficult to take down. He's not big in stature, certainly in height, but he's a stocky, as you would imagine looking at him, he's a terrific wrestler, is Noah Schumacher. And he's very difficult to bring down. We saw him duck underneath the tackle before. That time stepped through one and able to break it. I would imagine this is 4 down. I would imagine this is 4 down territory for the Vikings. And we'll see what they do on 3rd down. Send Ebert in motion. Now going to hand it to Ebert around the right side. That's the side he likes to run around. Can he keep the legs churning? He did. The near side official has it for a 1st down. The far side official, if they mark it with him, he is like a yard short. They're going to mark it with the near side official. It's still 4th, but now it's just 4th and inches. So a pickup of 1 from Ebert, and we'll see if the Vikings try to sneak Lair again. Lair under center. Takes the snap. Oh, he looked like he bobbled the snap. He regained it and dived forward. He's going to have the 1st down after a pickup of 2 for Sam Lair. Make it 3 for Sam. So the Vikings continue to churn out 1st downs here. That is their 3rd of the drive. Upcoming is the 9th play. And the Vikings going to take a timeout with 7:36 left here in the 1st quarter.
Their first timeout of the half.
Well, I haven't heard from Pastor Haig if he wants to join us. I would imagine he probably doesn't, which is all right. He would tell me, Coach King, we have a soccer representative up there in the booth already. Vikings this year, and I do help Pastor Haig assist the soccer team. 13-4-2 on the year for the Vikes soccer team. As I mentioned, have a 5 seed in the playoffs. And the sectional this year is very tough for the Vikes, as it usually is for the soccer team. Number 1 team in the state is Sheboygan Lutheran, Sheboygan Christian Co-op. They're number 1 in the state. Get a shot at them on Tuesday. And that's the top seed in the sectional as well for the Vikings. So coming off a 6-1 win over Lourdes Valley Christian. WLA Soccer 7-1 in the conference season and has a couple of games left to have a chance to share at least, if not outright win the Flyway Conference for soccer. So there's a soccer update for you. We can get back into that if time and situation permits it. Vikings are very late coming out of the huddle here. I thought they started the play clock, but we'll see if the Vikes have to sprint up there and snap the ball. Looks like they have time. Lair turns, gives Wiedmeyer, trying to find the edge. Finds the edge. If there's no flag, this is going to pick up a chunk. There is no flag, and Wiedmeyer is down inside the 15 to about the 12-yard line.
Viking first down.
And believe he picked up about 20 yards there, make it 21 for Cole Wiedmeyer.
15-yard line, first and 10.
We're going to say it is the 13, so pickup of 20 for Wiedmeyer, and first and 10 for the Vikings just outside of the 10-yard line. First red zone trip for the Vikes. They've converted 2 fourth downs on quarterback sneaks. Here is Jack Karst on the carry. Jet sweep motion for him, and Karst picks up nothing.
Schumacher around the right side for little to no gain. Second and 10.
So second and 10 for the Vikings. Believe this will be the 12th play of the drive. 11th play of the drive, pardon me, for the Vikes. Karsten Wiedmeyer in the backfield, Schumacher in the slot. Gensler out deep. They're going to throw that bubble screen again. Blocked well by Schumacher, but a nice play out on the edge for the Foxes. That's number 12, Bryce Crowley in the secondary. Pickup of about 4 yards. 3rd and 6 for the Vikings. And I, again, don't know if the Vikes would kick a field goal. I still don't think they have this year. I'd have to look at my notes a little bit closer, but I don't believe Gannon Schwartz is a good extra point kicker for the Vikes so far this season, but I don't know if he has a kick from the field. That was Schumacher on the carry. And Gensler's going to have to check himself out of the game, so Miles McCauley goes in.
Gain of 3, it leaves the Vikings 4th and 3.
Pickup of 3, 4th and 3 for the Vikings. This one's a little trickier. They're going to say Schumacher on the carry. Thought that was Karst. Or they said Karst. I thought it was Schumacher. Pardon me. So a couple of carries for Jack Karst here. Don't see him carry the football a lot, although I did see Brendan Ebert check himself out, so I don't know if he's injured, although that looks like him back in the ball game. And the Vikes have a false start. I think that might have been Revez on the edge that moved early for the Vikings. And now it's 4th and 8. Back out to the 11-yard line for WLA. And it's a long 8 at that. So a field goal from here, but not even worth mentioning. The Vikings aren't sending the field goal unit out there. It'd be something like a 30-yarder for the Vikes, right thereabouts. Lair under center. Chance here for the Foxes and a good chance to get off the field. Over the middle. Gensler catches it on the slant. Touchdown, Vikings. That was a great pass from Sam Lair. Dropped back 3 steps, put his foot in the ground and fired. And the Vikes have their first lead of the ball game. First points of the ball game on the first drive of the ball game. That was impressive from WLA, an 11-yard touchdown strike from Lair to Gensler, and a chance for the Vikes to add the extra point and take a 7-0 lead. It'll be Gannon Schwartz to try to do that. 13-play scoring drive. That covered 63 yards for the Vikings. Schwartz puts it through the uprights, and it's 7-0. So nice job there by the Vikes to mix run and pass. Lair was perfect on the drive, 3 for 3. All of those going to Gensler, going for 26 yards on this first drive, 3 for 3 for Lair and Gensler. Lair also had a couple of quarterback sneaks of 3 and 4 yards respectively. That was a good first drive for the Vikings. They moved the ball, just kept churning out. They had 2 plays that went for nothing. And then the penalty that was a false start that was negative. But other than that, kept Lair clean in the pocket, although he did not stand back there for very long. Did a good job to go with a couple of quick hitters on the screen passes to Gensler, and then Gensler over the middle. Otherwise did a great job, especially running the football. Oh, I didn't see a flag. Well,
15-yard penalty on the extra point play will be assessed on the kickoff.
Pardon me, I sat back too quickly on the extra point. After Gannon Schwartz knocked it through, there was a 15-yard penalty. Apologies that I missed that. And so the Vikings will get a chance here for Gannon Schwartz to. We'll see what happens. There's 2 schools of thought here. Either you just boot it through the back of the end zone, don't give them a chance to return it and put them at their own 20. Or some teams like to try to find that little pooch kick, try to land the ball like just over that front line. That goes through the returner and into the end zone for a touchback. So the Vikings opt for the kick the ball hard and kick it through the end zone option and avoid giving the other team good field position. So obviously with the pooch kick, you're giving them good field position. Although I will say this, you know, once you have that 15-yard, certainly a 5-yard penalty isn't much of a help, but a 15-yard penalty certainly can be. You can pooch kick that and still keep them somewhat deep in their own end zone or in their own side of the field. Cole Henke is the quarterback for the Foxes. He turns and keeps on the quarterback keeper on the option play, and I think he read incorrectly that time. Henke lost a yard, although the Vikings had the running back covered up too, so just a nice job for the Vikes to meet at that point of attack. Ball sits at about, well, just inside the 20-yard line, so we'll call it a loss of 1 on the play for Omro. It's still probably 3rd and 10, but it's a long 10, or 2nd and 10, pardon me. Receivers split to either side, 2 running backs in the backfield for the Foxes, along with Henke. He takes the low snap, gives, and the Vikes once more at the mesh point. Karst was the first one there, tackle broken, and the Vikes able to scramble the play dead. I think that was number 48, Denver Trelevin.
Denver Trelevin, the ball carrier.
Trelevin.
Gain of 3, 3rd and 7.
And he picked up 3. So, well, 3.5. 3rd and 7. Receivers to either side, they are Mason Huth and Keenan Ron for the Foxes. And here goes Trelevin. He breaks a tackle, breaks another, stiff arms Gensler. He's at the 30, Third, 25-20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Foxes. And what a run there from Denver Trelevin. Turns a 3rd and 7 into a touchdown. 77 yards for Omro. And a statement response needing just 3 plays to potentially tie this thing up pending an extra point. Vikings got up the field, and Omro blocked that just tremendously well. Used the Vikes' aggressiveness against them, as some teams have this season. And it's not going to be tied, as the Vikes are able to block the extra point. So, but nonetheless, there's a play to highlight here in the first quarter, as Omro able to get back some of that momentum with about 3 minutes left here in the first quarter. Vikes lead at 7-6, and they'll get the ball back for their second possession. So there's 2 ways to do it. 3 plays and the big hitter, 77-yard scamper, or the long, sustained, drawn-out drives, which is what the Vikings did on their first drive. 13 plays. Very similar on it, you know, and again, it's almost eerie how similar some of these games look, but it is just smells just like that Lemira game for the Vikings. Where the Vikings, I remember in that game, the Vikings, you know, bled 8 minutes off the clock on the first possession, and Lemira right away able to respond with a big play, huge run. Very similar to what just happened. Here's Gannon Schwartz on the kickoff return. Schwartz through a hole, gets picked up and dropped. That was Henke, who not just a quarterback, also just looked like a wrestling move there. That was a great tackle by Henke. There's nothing illegal about that. Didn't drop him on his head or anything, just picked him up and not so gently set him on the ground. Gannon Schwartz, 5'8", 130 pounds, and I suppose, you know, he's got the speed. Schwartz has the speed to play at this level, and I know he worked hard in the weight room this summer for the Vikings. 35-yard line is where the Vikes will start, but could add a few more pounds of muscle, could Gannon Schwartz. Here's Cole Wiedmeyer around the near side and able to pick up about 3. Be 2nd and 7. And the Vikings back to being content, as they should be, of just carving out these long, sustained drives. Under 2.5 minutes to play here in the first quarter. Second and 7. Here's Sam Lair. The turn, the give, Wiedmeyer up the middle. Picked up. Guess give him another 3. Let's call it 3, 3rd and 4.
From the 41.
So 6 yards on back-to-back pickups for Cole Wiedmeyer and this Viking offense. See if they can continue to sustain drives. Couple of fakes, and the give on the counter once again goes to Schumacher, and a decision here for the Vikings in their own territory. Do they go for it? It's going to be a 4th and long 1, maybe 2.
4th and 2 for the Vikings.
So we'll just give Schumacher just a yard there, or 2 yards there, I suppose. And the Vikings look to be, although again, if Cole Keifenheim comes on the field, that's usually when you know the Vikes are going to punt it. Keifenheim's out there now. So this, based on everything we've seen, should be a Viking punt. Fox is going to figure out what it is when we come back. Vikings 7, Foxes 6. Oh, we're just going to talk about the soccer season. Back here at Viking Field, and I said Pastor Haig might not come talk to us because, you know, I jokingly said he was just going to say we have a soccer representative up in the booth already, but Pastor Haig, a 5 seed in the postseason. I know there's still work to do in the regular season so far, but just talk about, give us a little update on the year.
Yeah, for all of you alumni checking in, the old soccer team is having a pretty good year again. If you didn't see the skit night last night, we're 12-5-1 and we're 7-1 in conference. Probably the big news is if we win our last conference game on Thursday, we will clinch at least a tie for the conference championship. So bring home another trophy, and that's what the guys are looking forward to.
There you go. A pickup of 3 there from Sam Lair, by the way, on the fake punt. Good call from the Vikings to keep this drive rolling. That's their 3rd fourth down conversion of the day. This is ever since WLA has moved up into this northeast kind of, or certainly the eastern part of the state sectional, it's always been tough, and that's the case again this year. Kohler, Kiel, Sturgeon Bay has always been very good. And then the top team in the state, which we'll get a chance at on Tuesday, but they're also in the sectional. And we'll just pause here as Gensler across midfield. There is a flag, so we'll see if that comes back for the Vikings or if Gensler and Lair just connected on another big play. Now it's a hold, so it's going to come back. But getting back to the sectional for the soccer team, very difficult, but we've seen a lot of these teams, so there is some comfort maybe in knowing who you're playing.
Oh yeah, like I said last night, I think it's kind of a good sign. That we played Kohler, who's right ahead of us in the seeding in the beginning of the year, and they kind of ran us off their field. As you remember, Coach King, you witnessed that. And then we played them later in the year and played them evenly and pulled out a victory. So maybe we're getting better. And obviously, if we can hold our own with Sheboygan Christian, that'll be a good sign because we'll have to beat them eventually to get out of the sectional, and that's going to be a tall order. But, you know, stranger things have happened.
No doubt. Pastor Egg, thanks for joining us as we try to update everyone on the fall sports.
Thanks for having me, Coach King. Go Vikes.
There you go. That's Pastor Haig. And as he said, go Vikes. We'll see if the Vikes can continue to move it thanks to Pastor Haig. And kicking off our alternative sports coverage today is how we'll label it. So thanks, Pastor Haig. So the Vikings, after the hold, which put them in first and long situation, now have it 2nd and 18. So that ends the first quarter, and the Vikes lead it 7-6. It's going to be 2nd and 18 when the second quarter, resumes. We're going to see if we have our second guest lined up here. Coach Schroffnagel is going to talk about the girls basketball team. So we'll step aside for just a few seconds. Back here, ready for second quarter action. Vikes lead it by a point as Gensler catches another one from Sam Lair. That's their 4th connection. He's found him 5 times so far this year, or so far today. One of them came back with that big holding penalty, and if you take away that, the Vikes would be well into Fox's territory. They're almost back to midfield. Got to get to the Fox's 44 in order to get a first down, so that's 6 yards away for the Vikes right now. 6 or 7, depending on where the nose of that football sits. So Lair will have it. 2 receivers. Well, it's Revez as the tight end, and then Schumacher to the top. Cole Wiedmeyer to the bottom. And they got Ebert in the backfield. It's Wiedmeyer on the near side. Wiedmeyer has the first down for the Vikings. And they'll move the chains once again. Lair back-to-back passes, getting 19, needed 18. And it's a first down for the Vikings. So a pickup of 7 there after the 12-yard pickup to Gensler just a play before for the Vikings. So they keep this drive moving. And we'll pass off the microphone here. We talked to Pastor Haig just a couple minutes ago, and someone who used to be involved with the soccer program, as the Vikes have it 1st and 10 here at the 43-yard line, is Coach Schroffnagel. Here's a little play to, believe that is Schumacher once again, and Noah Schumacher continues to run hard for the Vikings, and that's down to the 32-yard line. Coach Schroffnagel, happy homecoming. And, sorry, I flipped that off.
Yeah, great day. Great to be here.
Yeah, we'll talk a little girls basketball here between plays. And just a season ago, obviously, this was a difficult Flyway Conference last year with state runners-up Laconia. But you guys were 3rd in the conference, 18-7 on the year, and you return 3 players that averaged more than 14 points per game. How was the offseason for the girls?
I think our girls had a really nice off season, and it's great to see. You know, we have a bunch of girls who play basketball playing volleyball. Congrats to the volleyball team with their great win Tuesday night against Springs. So hopefully they play for a couple more weeks here. But we had a really nice off season between stuff we've done here, between teams girls are playing on outside of here. But we're really excited about, you know, our 4 starters returning, which are Kiera Shea, Siri Kuski, Abby Cole, Lindsay Now. We're excited about them. And then some of our other players coming up, which will have opportunities to earn some minutes. So we're really excited about our season coming up here.
Siri Kuski, the homecoming queen last night, by the way. We'll talk a little bit more about that stuff at halftime, as Lair has a big 2nd and 11. Schumacher lost a couple of yards. There's a tough pass. Schumacher makes the catch at the top side of the field, and it's going to be 3rd and 6. A lot of experience now. I mean, this is when you look at Kiera's played varsity for parts of 4 years now. Siri Kuski, this is her 3rd year, 2nd year for both Lindsay and Abby. You know, I know Laconia has a ton of youth, but a ton of experience as well, and Springs has the same. But this is a team that you would expect to be able to kind of roll with the punches this year, I would think.
It's great to have players returning who understand what it takes to have success at the varsity level. You know, we had that a couple years ago with Elena and Geneva and Kaylee and Riley in that class, and now last year, you know, seeing Lindsay and Abby and Karen Sears specifically really realizing what it takes and having a lot of success. It's nice to have that leadership. So it's a positive for everybody in our program.
It's going to be 4th and 7 after that pass drops incomplete, just a little bit behind Noah Schumacher. I know with some of the reshuffling, we're just talking about how tough the soccer sectional is. It's going to be tough for you guys this year. But, you know, when you talk about tough teams, and I'm sure when other schools talk about tough teams, they put WLA in there. It's just it's nice to be one of those teams, obviously, and to know, looking back to last year, that you can play with those kinds of teams, right?
Yeah, I mean, for us, you know, at the conference level, you know, Springs and Laconia are going to be excellent again this year. I mean, Omro's going to be very solid too. And you look at our regional, we have Springs and Laconia in our regional. We have New Holstein, who's very good. We have Randolph, who's very good. So it's going to be a tough set of teams. So, but we're looking forward to the challenge.
There you go. How many days? Do you know how many days? Are you counting down, or are you just saying basketball can stay there right now?
Oh no, we start November 6th. We're getting ready, and our first game is is it the 14th? We play Kiel right away, and Kiel's always a solid program, so we're looking forward to it. And you know, I hope those girls success in the volleyball season in the next few weeks, and then we'll tackle basketball when that's done.
There you go. That's Coach Schroffnagel. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mr. King,
for joining us as we continue to update you on all sports here at WLA during the homecoming afternoon. So thanks to Coach Schroffnagel for that. Appreciate it. Vikings just turned it over on downs, had an opportunity with maybe finding a screen, trying to set it up to Gannon Schwartz over there on the far side. He wasn't able to make the catch, and the Foxes now take over. It's Henke. He's going to keep it here, kind of a triple option look there for Omro, and a couple of Omro coaches can't believe that wasn't a face mask. It certainly looked like Henke's head got kind of wrenched back around, but no call forthcoming, so 2nd and 8 for the Vikings. So thanks to our first two guests, and man, I tell you what, the Viking girls basketball team this year, and I know the buzzsaw that is Laconia, who will likely start 4 sophomores and a junior this year, and you know, all of those players played last year on a state finalist team. Here's Gannon Schwartz making a tackle on the edge, and that was a hard hit that Schwartz just took. Hope he's okay after Trelevin got the, make it a 9-yard pickup. Needed 8. So already nearing the 90-yard mark there for Denver Trelevin of the Foxes. But you got Kiera Shea, who's very good defensively. Abby Cole is a monster on the boards, and Lindsay Nell does a little bit of everything for the Vikings. They all do a little bit of everything. Here's the pitch for the Foxes as Crowley catches the sweep pass, and it's going to be 2nd and a long 9, maybe 10. But the Viking girls basketball team, I've said this before. I'm not wishing the fall sports to end, because I'm a huge soccer guy. I'm part of the coaching staff. I love the fall sports, love football, and certainly volleyball has been a blast to watch the last couple of years for the Vikings. As coaches, Coach Recker a couple of years ago, as Henke's brought down after no gain, and it's going to be 3rd and 10. But volleyball's been tremendously entertaining to watch over the last couple of years. But, oh, man, I am ready for some hoops. And don't know if Coach Nell is around here today, if he's going to make a stop up here, or Coach Recker to talk about boys basketball or wrestling. But the Vikings should have really, really competitive winter sports this year. Obviously, just talked about the girls basketball team. There goes Henke into Viking territory. He's gone. No flags on the field. Omro takes the lead. And some of the air of the homecoming crowd has left after another 3rd and long turns into a long touchdown for the Foxes. 64 yards to the house for Cole Henke. And it is 7-12 pending the extra point. Although they may go for 2 here, try to chase those points back down. I think that's going to be the plan here for Omro. Their first kick did not look good. It went, I mean, the Vikings didn't even have to put their hands up to block it. Could have blocked it with a face mask, honestly. So Omro, who just took their first lead of the ball game, Henke in the pistol formation, the turn, the give, and Trelevin trying to get to the edge. Gensler trying to ride him down. Was he short? Yes, he was. Jack Karst hit him and kept him short. So it is a good stand here for the Vikings on the 2-point conversion, but yet still a lead for the Foxes, 12-7. They have touchdown runs of 77 and 64 yards so far this afternoon. Do the Foxes. And as I mentioned, some of the excitement of homecoming has been sucked out of this crowd. The Vikings had 2 long drives, both of them nearing 10 plays, and a couple of very, very short drives. I had the first drive as 3 plays, and I had the second drive as 5 plays for the Foxes. So quick strike offense from Omro so far today. Do apologize. I think we're maybe buffering just a little bit the video. Hopefully the audio is coming through strong, loud, and clear. And Hankey's going to send it deep for the Foxes. Puts a big left foot through it. Caught at, that was a good catch at the 10-yard line. Drifting back to the 8 goes Wiedmeyer. Now out past the 20-yard line to the 23-yard line, and I believe that's where the Vikings will start this possession. You know, the boys basketball team at WLA last year had an up-and-down season. Again, another one of those teams, you look at the record and you're not impressed. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you saw that team had a lot of talent and a lot of grit where it needed. You know, you talk about a player like Jacob Tyson last year for the Viking basketball team and how big he was down the stretch for the team. And obviously Ethan Cole and Aiden Barr and all of those seniors last year that they're going to have to try to replace this year. It'd be very interesting. But you saw it in the postseason. They just dismantled Cedar Grove, Belgium, and then, you know, a 67-65 loss at Sheboygan Lutheran, who at the time was ranked number 2 in the state. Now, Sheboygan Lutheran lost that very next game against Howard's Grove, but the Vikings almost ended their season a game before that. And just a truly gutsy effort over there and nearly came away with the win. 2nd and 9 after Schumacher caught a pass from Lair. Here's Lair trying to jet out to the left side, has to cut it back up the field. Nice job by the Foxes to corral Sam Lair. He gains maybe another half yard, and it's going to be 3rd and a long 8 or 3rd and 9 for the Vikings. Mr. Klukas agreeing with the long 8. But the Flyway this year in boys basketball and girls basketball, we just talked with Coach Schroffnagel about Laconia is going to be, you know, obviously the team to beat, but St. Mary's Springs brings back so much. Ramaker and some of these other players, Jans, I believe, back for Springs as well, and then a couple of Mowell brothers that come back for Springs. It's going to be very difficult. There's a nice play by Noah Gensler once again on the sideline. Gets it out to the 40-yard line for the Vikings, and it's 1st down. Everything to Gensler so far today has been tremendous. And Lair and Gensler, both integral parts of this Viking basketball team as well. Lair shoots it at, usually shoots it at a pretty high clip for the Vikings. Struggled, had a pretty significant slump last year. But still, he's a guy you got to respect. And really opened up a lot of things for the offense because even during that slump, he was still getting guarded fairly heavily off of the ball by opposing defenses. Under 5 minutes to play in the first half. Omro leads at 12-7. The give on the counter play up the middle goes Cole Wiedmeyer. He had to cut back, and he falls forward. How about that from Cole Wiedmeyer? Keeping the legs churning was the senior running back. Hey, there's the homecoming king right below us. Landon Sprenger was the homecoming king. He's the defender on the soccer team. Cole Wiedmeyer was the, did I say homecoming queen? I meant home. If I said queen, I'm sorry. I meant king. There's Siri Kuski's down there in the student section. She was the queen. Ava Lorenz was the princess, and here's the prince. Cole Wiedmeyer gets, well, that's a friendly spot on the far side of the field. They gave him 2 yards on that. I thought he barely got back to the line of scrimmage. But they're going to say he picked up a pair and sets up a 3rd and 3. 4 down territory for the Vikings, no doubt about that. And then Gensler, getting back to the boys basketball conversation. You know, if Gensler just, you know, if he can find that confidence to just believe that he can battle inside with some of the big boys at the Flyway Conference, I think that's the next step for Noah Gensler. He can shoot the 3. There goes Wiedmeyer, darting forward for about 6. Make it 7 after the spot down inside the 45 at the 44-yard line for the Vikings. So all 3 drives for the Vikes have made it into Omro territory. And what can they do here on this 3rd drive? The 2nd drive ended on downs for WLA. Down near the 30-yard line of Omro, and then Omro came storming right back in a couple of plays. Here's Gensler on a little hitch, trying to break a tackle on the near side. He's inside the 35. Nope, they're going to mark him at the 35. So it's going to be short of a first down. Thought he might have fallen forward for the first, but very close for the Vikings. 2nd and 1 after that pickup. Lair sprints over to the sideline to get the play call.
Once again, homecoming court, you should be gathering out near the pickups. Thank you.
Halftime, they'll have the presentation of the homecoming court. If you joined us last night for WLA Skit Night, for my money, the best night of the year on campus here at WLA. Here's Lair in the shotgun, drops back to pass. Now going to try to dart forward, get the first down, spins through a tackle, and does so. Gets inside the 35 down to the 33, picked it up by a yard, and first down for WLA as they continue to have a sustained drive. Been impressive. WLA has moved the football, with the exception of the big three teams in the Flyway Conference. WLA has moved the football really, really well this year. Obviously, last week not able to quite finish out enough drives to get things done against Laconia, losing that one 21-14. And that's a pass over the middle, picked off. What a play by the inside linebacker. That's number 56, Nate Piper. That's the second time we've mentioned Piper's name, batting away, passes over the middle of the field, and some of those passes that are over the middle of the field become very dangerous, and Piper making Lair pay for that one being just a little bit loose over the middle. So the Vikes have one turnover on down, and now an interception. Vikes going to take a timeout, maybe try to stop some of this momentum that continues to build in the favor of the Omro Foxes. Foxes lead it 12-7. Back with more after this.
Competition on the field. Today's competitor will be Angie Matthias of Grace Oshkosh, representing the Booster Club. We will also announce at halftime, after the court and the competition, all the winners from decorating, lip sync, and so forth.
Kind of a weird day in the Flyway Conference. Welcome back here, WLA TV. Jordan King, glad to have you along. Lamira playing on a Saturday. They're playing this afternoon against St. Mary's Springs Academy. And there's one other game in the Flyway going on. I'll figure that out for you, but it's kind of very interesting, you know, how normally it's Friday Night Lights. And always is Friday Night Lights here now at WLA. Of course, for so many years at WLA, this was Saturday afternoon was the game time for the Vikings, you know, with no lights. And in that situation, the Vikes have had lights now for the better part of 15 years, and maybe even longer than that. I'm trying to do the math in my head. It probably is about 15 years. There goes Henke again. Got to break one more tackle. Karst can't bring him down, and Henke's going to go the distance again. This one, 63 yards, just a yard closer than his last touchdown run, and Henke and the Foxes have taken control at Viking Field. They lead it 18-7. And they have, well, if this keeps up, they have ruined WLA homecoming. That's for sure. They're going to try to go for two again. Missed on the last one. You know, you have seen this scenario where if you miss enough of these two-point conversions, you really make it difficult on yourself, and it's easier for the the opponent, and Henke's going to get cut down early here again. So, yeah, they're short again. What should be a late in the game, what should be a 2 or a 3 possession game can turn into a 1 or 2 possession game very easily. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, right now the Vikings don't look like they have the ability defensively. They haven't been able to tackle Henke. They haven't been able to tackle Trelevin or Henke today. And both of them, Henke's got 127 yards rushing just on his touchdown runs, let alone the rest of the production that he's accounted for so far today. See if we can find a score. I don't know when the kickoff is. It is a 7 o'clock kick tonight for Lamira and Springs. So won't be able to give you any score updates for that. That's interesting to me. And then Campbell Sport at Laconia tonight at 7 p.m. as well. So can't give you any updates for either of those. A couple of those would certainly be interesting. I think Springs would feel like they should handle Lamira even on the road here tonight, or down I-41 tonight. That falls off the tee from Henke. We'll have to re-tee and let number 12, Bryce Crowley, hold the kick for him. But that Campbell Sport Laconia game, probably 3-4 in the conference, you would say. Or, if they're not 3-4, then Omro's 4. Campbell Sport looks like the third best team in the conference right now based on results. Cole Wiedmeyer gets hit hard. And I think that was, believe that was Piper again on coverage that time. And he's had himself a very impactful first half. There was a slant pass. Now, the Vikings ended up scoring on the first possession, but there was a slant pass on the first possession that Piper, if he doesn't knock it away, it might go for 6 for the Vikings. And then on a slant pass on the previous possession to this, Piper picked it off. So giving his team some points off of turnovers here this afternoon. The give goes up the middle for the Vikings and picks up a yard, 2nd and 9. It was Noah Schumacher who darted forward for just 3 feet. 30 seconds left here in the first half. I think the Vikings are going to be ultra conservative here. Run this down as far as they possibly can. And see if they can get out of this first half without any more damage. Although Omro does get the opening kickoff in the second half. Wiedmeyer goes forward. Oh, the ball came out. Who's on top of it? It's Omro. Number 3, Keenan Ron. 6'2", 175-pound defensive back, fell on it, and this first half could not be going any worse for the Vikings after their opening drive. Taking a 7-0 lead, they have been shell-shocked by the Omro Foxes. Henke in the backfield, and timeout. Vikings, they're going to use their final timeout here of the first half to try to get things under control here. Don't want to let this one get away from you in the first half before you have any chance to do anything about it in the second half. Vikings came out, got the football, went straight down the field, scored, took the lead. There's a lot of belief in the stadium. You could just feel it. Homecoming. You have the lead. And since then, it has been all Omro all the time. 18-7 lead for the Foxes. They don't need to. They're very quickly out of the timeout huddle over there on the Omro side of the field. Probably just get a drink and let's get back out there as quickly as we can. They've dominated this first half. has Omro. Henke in the backfield, and I thought there was a guy leaning there from Omro, and there comes the flag.
Illegal procedure penalty against the Foxes.
It was either the tackle on the end, but you probably also could have gotten the running back. The running back in the backfield was Wyatt Powers, 175-pound, 6 foot, 175-pound running back for Omro. So
5-yard penalty.
first and
It'll be first and
15.
for the Foxes.
Powers is a big boy when he comes in at running back.
We'll set the clock at 8 seconds.
They got Crowley,
No play.
Bryce Crowley on the near side. 3 receivers in a cluster. I think they want to block this up and maybe throw something up at the end zone. Hail Mary style. Can Henke buy enough time? That's knocked down. 1.4 seconds left. Nice job by Gensler, and Wiedmeyer was there as well for the Vikings to knock that down. Now, it didn't look like Henke has the arm strength to get it there. I mean, you're talking about throwing a 50-yard ball. If you use every yard you possibly can up to the line of scrimmage, it's a 43.5-yard throw to get it to the goal line. Now, the Vikings were not sitting back that time. They brought pressure. This time, it looks like Henke maybe going to run the football or perhaps even take a knee, and there's a false start in the backfield. Trelevin got an early start there.
That'll make it
second and 20 after a couple of false starts in quick succession for Omro. Last game of the year here on WLA TV for the on the football side of things. Even if WLA makes the playoffs, if they're able to come back and win this one, Vikes not going to have a home football game. Here's a block in the back. This isn't going to count. End of the half anyway. The ball is caught, and Omro is going to be very disappointed when they see that there's a holding penalty in the backfield or a block in the back. It was Oscar Bloom who caused the pressure in the backfield, and there it is.
Block in the back will be assessed against the Foxes. No touchdown.
WLA will accept that, and I think that should end the half then. You can end the half on a defensive penalty. Or you cannot, pardon me. You cannot end the half on a defensive penalty. You can.
Rule, the Vikings accept the penalty, and with no time on the clock, there will be one more play in the half.
Okay, maybe you can't. Now, at other levels of football, if I am not mistaken, you can end on an offensive penalty. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just hold the ball? Or why wouldn't you just... Yeah, this makes no sense. But Omro will run one more play. Here goes Henke up the middle. He gets driven back and driven to the ground after a 5-yard, make it a 3-yard pickup. And that'll head things to halftime. If that Hail Mary had gone for Omro, this would really have a sour taste at halftime. It's sour enough the way it is if you're a Viking fan. They trail 18-7 at halftime. Homecoming not quite going to plan for the Vikes. It looked like it was going to. They led it 7-0 after a 13-play opening drive. Drove the ball straight down the field and got a touchdown. It was an 11-yard touchdown strike from Sam Lair to Noah Gensler. Since then, 77-yard run from Denver Trelevin, and then Cole Henke runs of 64 yards and 63 yards for Henke to the house. And they have together put Omro in a good position here, up by 11 points at halftime. We'll take a timeout. We'll see if we have to walk around and try to find some people to talk to. We'll do that. Talk about homecoming court. We'll leave the microphone on for the crowd so you can hear the homecoming court. King was Landon Spranger, and the queen was Siri Kuski. Landon, a a soccer player. Siri Kuski plays volleyball, soccer, and basketball, three-sport athlete. The prince was Cole Wiedmeyer. I don't know if Cole does track in the spring or not. If he does, he's a three-sport athlete. He plays basketball in the winter. And then Ava Lorenz, who is a two-sport athlete, cross-country in the fall. And she was player of the year for the girls' soccer team in the spring for the Vikings as well. She was the princess. So they will announce the whole homecoming court as they drive them around the track here at WLA, and the festivities continue. Let's turn it over to Mr. Klukas.
2022 WLA Homecoming Court. It's been a wonderful week here at the Academy as we've celebrated homecoming. It's now time to meet the court. In the first vehicle, our court members, Lily Runge, Emerson Morrow, Anna Schwartz, Tevin Supley, Aaron Weed, and Noah Walta. Congratulations, folks. And in the second vehicle, we have Prince Cole Wiedmeyer and Princess Ava Lorenz. They are joined by King Landon Springer and our queen for 2022, Siri Kuski. Let's have a big round of applause for our 2022 WLA Homecoming Court. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you direct your attention to the south end of the field, it's time for the Buffalo Wild Wings contest. Our contestant today will be Angie Mathias of Grace Oshkosh. If Angie is successful in kicking a 20-yard field goal, she wins a $25 gift card to Buffalo Wild Wings. Angie, give it your best shot. Angie, you get a second chance. That first one was ugly. We can do better. Good try, Angie. Angie will walk away a winner today with a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card, and we thank B-Dubs. If you're an alumni of WLA and want more information about how WLA can help your class organize an upcoming reunion, please contact Johanna Yenter or Kevin Elke in the Mission Advancement Office. And now we'll announce the winners of all the various competitions of the week. First of all, Power Buff Volleyball was taken by the faculty. Powder Puff Football, the winners were the seniors. Decorations, the sophomores with the Game of Life. The Skits, the juniors with Monopoly. The best lip sync, the freshmen with Candyland. And t-shirts and best school spirit, the seniors, the class of 2023. Congratulations to all.
Halftime here at WLA. If you're just joining us, WLA led 7-0. Since then, it's been 18 straight points, all on the ground for Cole Henke and the Omro offense. Henke has runs of 64 and 63 yards for touchdowns. Add that with a 77-yard run from running back Denver Trelevan. And I apologize if I'm saying that wrong, but did not get pronunciations before the game, and I'm a believer that if you say it with enough confidence, well, good enough. Not actually. I do apologize that I wasn't able to grab pronunciations from Coach Heifer and his staff. That's apologies for that. I offered it to some of the homecoming court. I said, some of the royalty. I said, if you guys want to pop up here, we can talk about skit night, and all of them are student athletes. Talk about your respective sports seasons. We'll see if any of them take me up on that. They seemed pretty skeptical about coming on the live stream, which that's okay. We've talked about volleyball quite a bit, and that seems to be the sport of the fall for the Vikings. And this is not to downplay boys soccer or football or cross country, but my goodness, look at what the volleyball team's doing. They're 6-0, 1 win away from clinching in a Flyway Conference title by themselves, which seemed very unlikely earlier on in the fall and certainly at the start of the season. You go back to last year when you knew Laconia was going to be young, but they've had a program that just replenishes and rebuilds, reloads every year. Springs was a team that you thought for sure would have a say in the Flyway Conference race. They did. Nearly came to WLA on Tuesday and knocked off WLA on their home court, but WLA battled. Tuesday's scores was 25-20. Springs took the first set. WLA responded with a 25-21 second set win. And then sets 3 and 4 were not very competitive. Set 3, Springs dominated, 25-16. And whatever was said, or maybe not said, during the that third and fourth set intermission was crucial from Coach Emily Krause in her first year with the Vikings program, and very successful year, 19-8 on the season. But the Vikings stormed back out in that fourth set, win it 25-15, and then did not lose control of that momentum. Amber Johnson, one of the captains, had an 11-0 run from the service line to really, put the stake down for the Vikings in that fourth set, and then just rolled through the fifth set, did the Vikings. They won it 15-9 in that fifth set to clinch at least a share of the Flyway Conference title. But I don't think they have any designs of sharing that with anyone. They play Campbell Sport, who's a middle-of-the-pack team. And maybe I downplayed this on Tuesday, and if Campbell Sport fans were watching, they were probably, maybe I made some people angry, but Campbell Sport is 6-15 on the season. Now they've had plenty of success in the Flyway. They're sitting third. They have wins over I believe Mayville, Elmira, and Omro, or North Fond du Lac perhaps, but 6-15. Campbell Sport. If you're the Vikings, you have to look at Campbell Sport and say, this is a team we should be able to beat. This is a team we gotta. If we can go to the pit and win, and the Vikings did that in 5 sets earlier this season, if we can welcome in a very good St. Mary's Springs team that was very, very veteran, experienced team that comes in here to WLA and you can beat them, you got to feel like you have you should be able to take care of Campbell Sport on the road and close things out. 2 regular season games left. I have not seen the postseason result. I don't know if they've had the seeding meeting for volleyball left. Just 2 games this week for WLA. They welcome Wapanen, who is not having the best season. Talking about the Warriors, and then going to Campbellsport, as I mentioned, with the chance to clinch the Flyway Conference. Wapanen is 6-22 this season. They have a 3-1. Lamira took a set off of Wapan. They are last place in the East Central Conference that has the likes of Kettle and Kewaskum and some very good volleyball teams in that East Central. Wapan, unfortunately for the Warriors, not one of them this season. But WLA, 19-8 on the season, have a chance to go over 20 wins in the first season of Coach Krause's career, and then lay it on the line in the postseason. This is a team where, you look at soccer doesn't lose a ton. Football does not lose very much at all. This volleyball team is one that, they got some underclassmen, but they got some leaders on this team. Siri Kuski, their starting setter, or one of the 2 setters in their 6-2 that the Vikings run. You got Siri, and Amber Johnson is a very influential outside hitter for them. Plays all the way around for the Vikings. She's second in the team in service receive. And then Kiera Shea, who is the libero for the Vikings, and just defensively is just a stonewall for the Vikes. So, can they get it done? Now, it's not to say this is not a talent-barren program for the Vikings after that. I mean, you got Avery Supernan, and you got Milena Dins coming back next year. Brooklyn Dins is a sophomore. Sam Unger, the second setter, is just a freshman for the Vikings. Lindsay Nell, Abby Cole. I mean, there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent in the program, but you got some influential seniors on this team that will want to, sky's the limit for the Vikes in the playoffs. They are battle-tested so far this season. They've played some good teams. They went toe-to-toe, lost a couple of matches to FVL, Fox Valley Lutheran, in straight sets, but went toe-to-toe with them, if my sources tell me right. So very exciting. Very, very exciting. Back here to the football. The Vikings know that they have to come back in the second half here and win if they are going to go and play in the postseason. If they don't, next week will be the final week of the season. They'll go to North Fond du Lac, a team that I'm sure they'll believe they should beat based on results that happen elsewhere in the Flyway Conference. But you're not going to play postseason football if you're not able to come back and turn this scoreline around. 18-7, the lead for Omro. WLA is going to kick it off to Omro, see if they kick it deep. The Vikes have had some success on onside kicks so far this season. Needed a big one against Lamira. They got it. And then it's going to be on the right arm of Sam Lair, and probably to a big extent the 2 hands of Noah Gensler, Noah Schumacher, and the rest of the crew. Back deep, Cole Henke and Denver Trelevan for the Foxes. Neither of which do the Vikings want to see with the football in their hands, I'm sure. It's going to end up with Trelevan. He able to scoop it up at the 30-yard line, breaks a couple of tackles. He is so tough to bring down. Cole Keifenheim able to tackle him along with Moses Metzger. Moses Metzger was the Vikes tried him at inside linebacker for a couple of games, and just like what he brings to the table in terms of awareness and able to read the play. But he's a little undersized. 5'11", 165 is a little small to be playing in the middle. Talking about Moses Metzger. Henke in the kind of the pistol formation. He keeps it. Going to go behind a couple of blockers. Nice job on the far side by the Vikings, getting some penetration and taking down Cole Henke after a short game pickup of 1, maybe no gain. It's going to be, we'll give him second and a long 9. It was Oscar Bloom on the far side for the Vikings. Taking him down. He was the first one there. Now they just moved the yardage. Yeah, we'll keep what we have. Second and a long 9. Henke in the backfield. The receiver over here on the near side is Ron. Keenan Ron. Henke's going to keep it once again, and Chop Simmons came through, not able to make the tackle. Henke spins out of it. Far side, gets around the edge, and takes it past the first down marker. Pickup of about 13 or 14 yards for Henke. And he's into Viking territory at the 45-yard line. Looked like he was going to be brought down in the backfield by Chop Simmons. Came busting through that offensive line. And that just tells you how difficult it is to bring down this young man for the Foxes. Henke has run very ferociously today, and going back to that Campbellsport game a couple of weeks ago, the Vikes have struggled with big physical runners, and then obviously Hempfner for Springs a couple weeks back as well. Here is Trelevin, runs over Schwartz in the secondary and dives inside the 30-yard line down to the 29. And that was another pickup of about 15, 16 yards on that play. Give him 16 for Trelevin. He's over 100 yards here this afternoon. Trelevin is back there along with Henke and also Bryce Crowley in the backfield. Receivers split out to either side. They've been in this set the whole game. The give is to Crowley. Now back around on the end around. It is Huth. And Huth were able to get to the edge and then gets pushed out of bounds. Picked up about 6. I'll give him 5 on the play for Huth. There's 2 2s on the roster. I just want to make sure that was Mason Huth before I talk too much about him. Looked good there on the end around, did Huth. Henke back in the backfield. Takes the snap, goes behind his 2 running backs as blockers, and Oscar Bloom, able to drag him down from behind. Chop Simmons also in on the tackle, as is Peyton Backery for the Vikings. Alec Oberg back into the game for the Vikes. That was Chop Simmons probably finished the tackle for the Vikings more than anything else, but it was Oscar Bloom there to pull Henke back. Got to have some strong fingers to take down Henke with just a hand tackle, that's for sure. But he held on for dear life, did Oscar Bloom, brought him down. Henke's going to keep it once again, try to get to the edge. Gensler kind of cheated down there, got to the edge, and there's a late flag as Jack Karst comes in with a late hit. And it's going to be 15 more yards on a 3rd down. Viking coaches throw their hands in the air, but it's going to be 15 yards as Karst just a little bit late on the tackle, at least in the opinion of the referee. I can show you about 40 or 50 people on the near sideline, and then probably another 150 in the stands that disagree with that call. It did not look extremely late there from Jack Karst. That's all I'll say about it. It's on the far side of the field. It's difficult to maybe see. You'd have a better chance of going back on the live stream here, but Coach Kevin Lair is not happy about that. Did not look like a very good call. But, those late hits, you got to be very careful going in. There's Trelevin getting to the edge and wins the race to the pylon. Denver Trelevin with his 2nd touchdown. This one coming from just 12 yards out, and it is 24-7. Vikings are as I've used the word a couple of times, they are shell-shocked. Have been shell-shocked this afternoon. And I think Henke was sent off the field for some reason. I don't know if that was injury concern or something, or if his helmet popped off or what. But Henke came off the field, so They're going to go for one again.
Attempting the point after number 12, Bryce Crowley.
Crowley's going to try to kick it in for the Foxes. They have not been successful on any of their touchdowns yet, and that one into the line from Crowley once again. So stays at 24-7, and that's about the only thing that's gone wrong today for the Foxes is their point after touchdown tries. Everything else has been pretty good for the Foxes. How about some softball? Huh? Vikings softball a couple years ago thought they probably had a good enough team to, well, do a lot of things. Thought they had a good enough team to win a state championship, probably. And Audrey Schumacher could be back for the Vikings this year. And, you know, it would be interesting to see the Vikes. Not Flyway Conference champs last year. Campbell Sport had that distinction, but the Vikes still felt pretty good going into the postseason. Natalie Belk did an excellent job for the Vikings as their ace last year. And then, you know, Kiera Shea, for the third straight sport, we're talking about Kiera Shea. She's not, you know, there's 3 sport athletes, and then there's 3 sport athletes that dominate at what they do. Kiera Shea is the latter. The 3 sport athlete that dominates with a capital D. Out there. Very, very exciting player to watch play softball. Plays center field for the Vikings and generally their second hitter as well. So be interesting for the Vikes coming back this season with Coach Westfall. Schumacher on the return has it out to the 37-38 yard line for the Vikings. But the Vikings bring back some, you know, their outfielders. They lose Maddie Lair last year, which is a big loss for the Vikes. She was the left fielder. They were trying to figure out right field for a long portion of last season. See if they got that figured out. Anna Trewin played out there, as did Leah Mathias some. Then they got to replace Lair in left field. Here goes Schumacher in motion to give instead up the middle to Cole Wiedmeyer, and Wiedmeyer picks up 3 yards, 2nd and 7.
Cole Wiedmeyer across the 40-yard line.
Aaliyah Anhalt was a first-team all-conference selection for the Vikings, and she was honorable mention all-state for WLA, was Aaliyah Anhalt. And she returns at the catcher position. You got Abby Cole and Lindsay Nell returning for the Vikes as well. Amber Johnson at shortstop. It's nice to have that shortstop position accounted for with a lot of experience from Amber Johnson. Avery Supranan was hurt last year. How would it, you know, she comes back and adds something to this team as well. She played well in the volleyball season. Here, another pickup of 3 this time from Cole Wiedmeyer. Sets up a 3rd and 4 for the Vikings. Maybe 3rd and 3. So softball should be fun again this year. They lost 10-4 to New Holstein. That's kind of a weird situation. They had some weather involved with that one as well. Here's Wiedmeyer, darts forward, dives ahead, ball came out, he was down. Yeah, he was down.
Runner is down on contact. Pickup on a play is good for a Viking.
Omro picked it up. It was number 55, Parker Krokstrom, who picked up the loose ball and would have recovered a fumble for Omro had that been called a fumble, but Wiedmeyer was down before the ball was out, and you could see that up here. Good call from the near side official. And a first down for the Vikings as the ball sits at midfield. As I mentioned, the Vikes have had the ball into Omro territory in every possession this so far today. Oh, and Wiedmeyer gets swung down for a loss of 4. 2nd and 14. Big loss on that play, and a nice play defensively from the Foxes, certainly. Coming up, we'll talk about girls soccer and in baseball. Baseball going to try to replace Ethan Cole. But you got Ethan Peterson coming back. Hopefully he can get healthy by the springtime for the Vikings. Also plays basketball, or did last year, did Ethan. So Be nice to get him back for the Vikes. Lair on the near side over the head and the outstretched arms of Cole Wiedmeyer, and this is not where the Vikings want to be. It's no secret that the Vikes and very, very few high school offenses, as soon as you take a negative play and put yourself in second and, let's just say, plus 10, it becomes very, very difficult for a lot of high school offenses. The Vikings are no different. You get in second and 14, you just have to – there's certain plays on the playbook that are just X'd out. And that throw from Sam Lair was not catchable for Cole Wiedmeyer. Wiedmeyer was trying to run a little bit of a post there, it looked like. Trying to set up a screen. They did this in the first half, too. Trying to set up a screen to Gannon Schwartz, get him out in the open field. And this one was not developed well at all for the Vikings, and it was batted away from Schwartz. Gannon's going to stay in there. They're going to throw on Cole Keifenheim as well. It's 4th down for the Vikings, so this is perhaps Gannon Schwartz is out there now to do the punting. And like I said, Cole Keifenheim is usually an indicator that the Vikes are going to punt. So you got Gannon Schwartz and Sam Lair. Schwartz will back up if he's going to punt it, although they direct snapped it to Lair earlier. I don't know if they're going to do that here. Doesn't make a lot of sense to do. Schwartz is going to put a left foot or right foot through this one, and it's fair caught by Crowley inside the 25 at the 24-yard line. That was a good, nice punt by Gannon Schwartz. We roll on here on the Homecoming Day broadcast. Glad to have you along. It doesn't some of the festivities and the pageantry of homecoming has been sucked out of the crowd here as Omro has come to play spoiler, and my goodness, are they doing it this afternoon here at Viking Field. The Vikings looking for another conference win, something they've found kind of difficult to come by this season. Here's Trelevin trying to get to the edge, and a huge hold.
Trelevin is brought down near the original line of scrimmage.
The Vikings looking for win number 2. I mean, the Vikes on a 4-game losing streak. There's the holding call that so many saw, including a lot of fans, helping the officials out. Vikings started 3-0 this season. A lot of optimism surrounding this group of guys. You thought you maybe had just enough, you have not a big senior class. There's only 3 guys
The ball is at the 10-yard line.
on this football roster that are seniors. Peyton Backery, Brendan Ebert, and Cole Wiedmeyer.
Repeat the down, it's
The rest are underclassmen. So,
and 23.
But there was still a lot of optimism, especially with how they started this season. Start 3-0, you get that first Flyway win. I mean, if you're the Vikings, nice defensive pass rush that time, and I think Moses Metzger was the one that actually dropped Tanky that time, but there were a couple of Vikings that hit him before he was taken down.
The Vikings, Moses Metzger.
But you look at all the games the Vikes have played, and this is, again, not in any way to cut down what WLA has done on the football field this year, because you go back to last week, if they're able to beat Laconia today, becomes a win and you're in type of game, assuming that they beat North Fond du Lac next week. So the Vikings have had a good year. This is not to say that they have not. But how different a season could look.
Denver Trelevin for a short gain.
The
Ball
Vikings
is now at the 12
and
yard, 13
Omro
yard
in third and forever territory here.
3rd and 21.
3rd and 21. But if the Vikes don't get that onside kick at Lomira, they are still looking for their first conference win. If, the Vikings were in 1-score games against both Kettle Moraine, Lutheran, and Chilton, one of those games goes a separate way. I mean, and again, that's football. But the Vikings, they play close games, and that's part of the gig. Is sometimes you drop those games. Trelevin, pardon me, gains a couple for the Foxes, and they'll send out their punt team on 4th and forever. So the Vikings finally make Omro punt after 5 tries. The Vikes are able to make the Foxes send one deep. And deep to return for the Vikings is Noah Schumacher. I think he's the punter. That one angling towards the far side. Oh, my. What a bounce for the Foxes there. I thought that was going to bound out at about the 45-yard line. And it hit and kind of caromed back towards the middle of the field. I'm sure Noah Schumacher's probably thinking to himself, you've got to be kidding me. Punt to that far side. It was a dandy from Henke to begin with. And then you get the kick on top of it. And, well, some of the worst starting field position of the day for the Vikings, right up there with it. Just outside the 20-yard line. Ball placed at the 22. Flyway Conference standings as a whole this year. Mayville and Springs both, well, Mayville's 6-0. They won last night. They had North Fond du Lac. As Lair hands it off straight up the middle. I believe that's Wiedmeyer once again. Picks up 2 or 3 on first down. Still sets up 2nd and long for the Vikings. So Mayville 6-0 on the season. Springs 5-0. Campbellsport is 3-2. Laconia is 3-2. That's the matchup tonight. Campbellsport and Laconia. Omro is 2-3. Looks like they're on their way back to 3-3. WLA is 1-4. Lamira 1-4. And North Fond du Lac is 0-6 on the season. Deep ball from Lair, looking on the far side, looking for Noah Schumacher, is well out of reach of Noah's outstretched arms. Last game week in the Flyway Conference features WLA North Fond du Lac. Believe it's Lamira. Let me get this Flyway Conference schedule out here. Got to find which tab we're looking at here. Laconia Omro, Lamira Campbellsport, WLA North Fond du Lac, and then Mayville Springs. Here's Lair on the near side running for his life. Throws the ball up. Gensler just has to play defensive back, and thought Ron might have picked it off. It hit the ground. And no harm done for the Vikings. Mayville at St. Mary's Springs. Fruth Field, Thursday night, 7 o'clock. What are you doing Thursday at 7? And I don't mean to talk about Springs and Mayville events during WLA's homecoming broadcast here, but that should be a good one. If you're a Flyway Conference fan watching here on WLA TV today, what are you doing on Thursday night? No other game to go watch. I mean, even if you're a WLA fan or an Omro fan, you just want to see good football. 4th down, Gannon Schwartz goes back to punt formation, launches a good one. This is caught at the 43-yard line and slung down from there is Crowley. Good tackle from Noah Gensler. And Omro has the football back, and it's near midfield. 47-yard line of Omro is where things will get going. In the Flyway, the yardage leader is Abe Maurer with North Fond du Lac, interestingly enough. The passing yardage leader, he's got 1,006 yards according to WisSports.net. Now he's attempted
Cole Henke keeps on
outside
the
of
play.
Sam Lair for the Vikings, who has 127 attempts coming into today's game, Moorer has 164 attempts per game. So his yards per attempt is not tops in the conference. That goes to Addison Middlestead. He's got 900 yards passing, or just shy of that, on 67% passing, which is a little bit better than Moorer, who's about 50% passing.
Cole Henke
Sam Lair has 834 yards passing. He is in third place by some margin. Cullen King is fourth. Mitch McCarty,
loss of 2 leads
557. Connor Steers with Lemira, the other one, over 500 yards. Keaton Grotti, 447. And then Omro's Cole Henke, as we've seen today, does not have to throw the football a whole heck of a lot. He only has 266 yards through the air, and then you start getting into the backups. Henke takes the snap here, pitches it to Trelevin, tries to get to the edge. He's able to break a tackle there, runs over a Viking player, and is tackled by Jack Karst after a pickup of enough for a first down. I do believe it's going to depend on the spot, but I think he got enough for the first down. They're going to say yes, first down for Omro with 1 minute and 48 seconds left here in the third quarter. And now they're going to call the chain gang across. Third quarter that has seemed like it's lasted forever. Rushing statistics in the Flyway Conference, as you might expect, Blake Schroffnagel of Mayville is the leading rusher in the conference. I believe he's also the leading rusher in yards per attempt, if I got that right. Obviously leads with 23 touchdowns. Now, yards per attempt is an interesting one, right? Because you have some of these guys who carry the ball once. In terms of what you would consider to be a starting running back in this conference, Blake Schroffnagel is far and away the leader in yards per attempt. He's averaging almost 13 yards per attempt is Blake Schroffnagel. Here's Henke in the backfield. Turn. No, he's going to keep it. Go behind his leading blocker on the right side. Gets stacked up. Jack Karst with the tackle on the far side after pickup of 4. Set up a 2nd and 6. Schroffnagel has 1,547 yards and 23 touchdowns. Benjamin Tim, saw him on WLATV a couple weeks ago. 1,109 yards on the season, 15 scores for him. Connor Steers with Lemira, their quarterback, 805 yards, 7 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns. Levi Hempfner with 15 scores, 773 yards for Springs. Here's Henke. He's going to pass the ball. Don't see this very often. Goes deep down the middle of the field. Has his man, and that is overthrown. Would have been a touchdown as Keenan Ron ran a great route out of the slot, and Henke couldn't quite find him. Sets up 3rd and 6 for Omro. Cole Henke is 5th in the conference in rushing. You can see why today. He looks very good running the football. 705 yards and 9 touchdowns. Ashton Pike from Laconia, 558 yards. Turner Wagoner, who's actually the running back with Lemira, has 542. Cole Wiedmeyer comes up next with 493 in front of a smattering of other players in the Flyway Conference. Here's Henke with the give, and good tackle that time from the Vikings to take down Trelevin.
Stop near the line of scrimmage.
Receiving in the Flyway Conference, Bradley Bushke leads it with 374. He's got 5 scores on the year. Gensler also has 5 scores on the year. I believe that is top in the Flyway Conference. It is. In terms of receiving touchdowns this year, 5. Here's Henke. 24-7 between the Vikings and the Foxes. Here's the pitch. Trelevin has some space. Tackle made by Sam Lair. A nice play by Sam Lair, and it turns things back over to the Vikings.
Tackle to Sam Lair. Pick up on a play is short of first down yardage. And that will be the final play.
And that's
of
going to
the
end
third
the
quarter.
third quarter as well.
Our score, Foxes 24, Vikings 7.
24-7 between the Vikings and the Foxes. And we'll head to the fourth quarter. We're going to step aside for just a second after we tell you Bushki Jackson Goldapski from North Fond du Lac is second. Third, Colby Sakat from Lamira. And then fourth is Noah Gensler with 346 yards. Actually, Gensler and Sakat are tied. They give the edge, I think, to Sakat based on yards per catch. Back in a few.
At this time, if you're an alumnus of WLA, would you please stand in the stands, please? Please rise if you are a graduate of WLA. Welcome back. First and 10,
You know, we
Vikings.
didn't talk about wrestling. I was talking to Coach Recker this week, and he's hopeful they can fill. He thinks they can probably fill out a roster this year. And if you can fill out a lineup, I've said this a lot. And nice run here from Gannon Schwartz. And Gannon picks up 9 after catching the ball out in the flat. I've said this a lot, and I love calling wrestling, by the way. I know and that's wrestling's kind of a niche sport, and you spend some time in Oklahoma, USA, you learn about wrestling, as I did. And if you can fill out a roster with all 14 weight classes, you got a chance now. You got a chance to make some noise. And WLA's got some talented wrestlers. Jack Karst is one of them. Here's Sam Lair up the middle, gets stopped right away. And he actually lost half a yard there for the Vikings, so it's going to be 3rd and 2. But if you can fill out a roster with 14 wrestlers, you're going to win a lot of duels just based on the fact that with participation rates where they are for a sport like wrestling, it's very difficult to fill out rosters. And if you can fill out all 14 weight classes, now 106 or 103, those are tough. If you can fill that, you got a chance to make some noise. We'll see what the Vikings can do. Here's another one of those good wrestlers. Noah Schumacher makes the catch on the comebacker. And he's into Omro territory. Nice throw from Sam Lair. And the Vikings want to go no huddle. See if they can make some noise, make Omro think about this in the last quarter. Under center for Sam Lair. The turn, the give. Wiedmeyer trying to pick his way. Nothing for Wiedmeyer. Omro stacks him up, throws him backwards. And there is a Viking down on the field. And they're going to sprint out there and tend to him. We are going to take a timeout, and we'll come back after this. Back here at Viking Field.
On the prior play, it'll be 2nd and 10 for the Vikings.
Vikes will have it 2nd
From
and
the
10.
47.
And one of their captains, Oscar Bloom, off the field for the Vikings for the time being. Hope Oscar's all right. So the Vikings trying to tighten this thing up. Gensler has that one go off his hands and
Similar pass intended for Noah Gensler is incomplete.
didn't look
That'll
happy
make it
with
3rd and
Lair
10.
with the ball placement. He still should have been caught. But the ball drops to the turf and ends up with 3rd and 10. Vincent Revez and Brendan Ebert back onto the field. They will replace Miles McCauley and Gannon Schwartz, a couple of players that you would have out there, you would assume, for passing plays. This is kind of the run set for the Vikings. So obviously it's you 4-down territory regardless of where you are on the field, but here maybe they're just trying to pick up enough yards to have it 4th and short, and Lair is going to get taken down. Number 54, Xander Sowles was the first one there. And then 73, Carter Brisky was able to finish him off.
It'll be 4th and
You know, as I look up and down this roster for Omro, there's not a lot of seniors on this roster either. This is a team with a lot of 9s next to numbers. Got some 10s and 11s too, but a lot of 9s. And quite a few 10s as well on this roster for Omro. So, you know, they got some impactful seniors, no doubt, but you can bring back a guy like, here's a throw on the far side. Gensler lost it
pass intended for Noah Gensler is incomplete.
in the air. If you're Omro, you're losing Cole Hankey, you're losing Bryce Crowley, you're losing Denver Trelevin, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, yeah, what's left? Nate Piper's made some big plays defensively. He comes back as a junior. Xander Sowles just with the sack. A lot of the big numbers, a lot of these offensive, defensive line players, almost all of them are coming back for the Foxes. Here's Henke as the Vikings turned it over on downs, by the way. That was 4th and forever. Just kind of threw it up there to Gensler and nothing doing.
It'll be 2nd and 10.
Chop Simmons able to stop Henke there after no gain. 8:43 left here in the ball game, and homecoming is not quite with the same sort of pizzazz as maybe you would have thought here today. It's a gorgeous day for football. I know it's probably a little uncomfortable out there. You got to bring the jacket out today. The wind is it's a brisk breeze out there. It's a stiff breeze, but it's still beautiful football weather. Like this is awesome football weather. Henke taking forever to snap the football. There's no count from the back judge. He's waiting for the back judge and the play clock. Where's the play clock? Henke finally just snaps the football. The back judge never put his hand in the air to start counting.
For a couple of yards.
And no one can believe it right now. I can't believe that there wasn't a count there from the back judge. I don't know if he forgot his responsibility or what. It's his job, though, to let the offensive team know. Obviously, there's no play clocks on the fields. I don't think anyone in the Flyway Conference has a play clock. So the back judge, when it's getting down in, now he's got his hand up, counting down. And some maybe
Denver Trelevin stopped near the line of scrimmage by the
sarcastic cheers from some people in the stands.
Down for the Foxes from the 47-yard line.
4th and 7, 4th and 8, somewhere in there for Omro. think we've hit them all. Cross country, having a nice season. You know, ever since, Coach Coleman, both Coach Colemans have done an awesome job with that building that program and participation in a sport that, really is not the most traditionally filled out roster. I mean, it's just not a tremendously popular sport, we'll say, in terms of participation. Delay a game this time on Omro. They've done a nice job, and really since COVID delayed the fall sports in the Flyway Conference. I know Omro wanted to play that fall season. I think a lot of people probably did. Omro going to send it deep here with Henke. That was the year the Foxes were very, very good, as were the Lemira Lions. And there goes Noah Schumacher, and he gets tackled. Good coverage there by the Foxes.
Noah Schumacher with a catch. The ball is at the 17-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 Vikings.
So the Vikes will take over once again. But ever since COVID, I think cross country maybe got some players that or some runners that maybe wouldn't have run cross country otherwise. And they have not looked back here at WLA. They have a lot of participation out for cross country, which is awesome to see. Lair in the shotgun formation has Wiedmeyer right next to him. Double move, trying to look for Gannon Schwartz. Now checks it down to Cole Wiedmeyer, and Wiedmeyer had that go over his head.
Wiedmeyer incomplete. It'll be 2nd and 10 for the Vikings from the 17.
Miles McCauley, Noah Gensler, Cole Wiedmeyer, Gannon Schwartz all in the ball game for the Vikings. Running a ton of pass patterns, and the Vikings have to throw the football right now with the situation that they're in, which is 5:56 to go in the ball game and trailing at 24-7. Runs of 11, 63, 64, and 77 for Omro on their scoring plays. Their 4 scores today. Here's Gensler on the far side, makes the catch, sidesteps a man, and is out just before the first down marker. It's going to be 4th and, or check that, 3rd down and 3. Make it 2.
It'll be 3rd and 2.
I think we've hit everything today. Volleyball, awesome year. Boys soccer, a 5 seed in the postseason. That comes up next week. Not this coming week, but the week after. Still a chance for a Flyway title. So, very exciting. I don't think cross country I don't think they expect to win the conference title. Here's a big pump fake from Sam Lair. Comes back across to the far side of the field. Gensler continues to make an impact for the Vikings on the far side. Makes the catch and steps out of bounds across the 40-yard line. Right at the 40, I think, is where they're going to spot this. So football and cross country doesn't look like they're going to win conference championships. Volleyball's already clinched at least a share, but they think they can be the solo conference champs. I do too. 7-0, they would be undefeated conference champs in the Flyway. Soccer wins out. They got a share of the Flyway crown with CWC and North Fond du Lac United. So still very successful years for both of those teams. See where the Viking volleyball team gets seated in their sectional. Here is a pass from Sam Lair, stepping up, now running for his life to the near side, and lobs one over. Some contact there. Was it picked off? No, incomplete. On the back end, the Vikings wanted a flag for pass interference. On the front end, Xander Sowles and Omro wanted a pass interference or a flag for the hold, which did look like there was a hold by the Vikes in the backfield. Neither flag came, and we're just playing on as we tick down under about 5.5 minutes or so to go here this afternoon. You know, last year the Vikings won their first round matchup against Marshall in the postseason, talking about the Viking volleyball team. Then they had to go play Lake Country Lutheran, who is one of the best teams in the state. And the Vikes took one on the chin to the Lightning of Lake Country Lutheran. Here's Gensler on the far side once again, and Gensler gets dragged down after a gain of about 15 yards. If nothing else, Gensler's getting some statistics here late in the game. Vikings trying to push it and see if they can't make Omro a little bit uncomfortable. I think at this point you're talking about multiple onside kick recoveries if you're WLA, but still a chance. Trailing this one by 17 points, and again, this is where maybe kicking woes come into play. 2 touchdowns and a field goal, but again, WLA does not kick many field goals. And that is assuming that you convert all of your point after touchdowns as well. That's dropped by Gensler over the middle of the field. Nice play by, I believe that was Jack Wellheffer, who hit Gensler. Gensler could have still probably brought that in. Didn't look like he got the ball. I think he just hit Gensler, and that jarred it enough to have the ball hit the turf. But it is 17 points. Get back to volleyball. You know, if you can be a higher seed to where you don't have to go and play a team like that, at least in the second round, if you can get a couple of home matches, and then you play a team like Lake Country Lutheran perhaps in a sectional game instead of a regional, and that makes the world a difference. There's no doubt about that. They're going to send McCauley in motion to the Vikings. Lair takes the shotgun snap, flips the ball, and over the middle. Is it caught by Noah Schumacher? It was caught by Noah Schumacher, and Hankey sitting on the field to stop the clock yet again. As this second half continues to drag on, it has taken forever. And I think there was some contact perhaps before Schumacher, and defensive holding. Schumacher came darting across the middle and couldn't see the number there from Omro, but had to yank Schumacher back to stop him. And you can see it there on the huddle camera. That wind is really starting to pick up out there. It's been, like I said, it's been a stiff wind all game long, but really picking up now. Should be a first down after the 10-yard march off.
Penalty, the Vikings have first and 10 at the 35-yard line of the Foxes.
Another penalty that is different in the pros, just 5 yards for defensive holding in the NFL. Different here at the high school level. Lair takes the snap. Looks to Gensler coming across the formation, and Noah Gensler gets slung out of bounds at about the 21-yard line. Make it the 22 for Noah Gensler. Another first down for the Vikings. Telling you, they can move the ball with a long, sustained, drawn-out drive with the best of them, can the Vikings. Right now is not the kind of situation you want to be in, though, when you know that's you. And the clock stopped here with 5:05 to play, but you would assume as soon as Omro gets the ball back with their ability to run the football, if they don't commit any penalties, it's going to be very difficult. That ball hits the ground as well. 5 seconds just come off the clock in that one. 2nd and 10 for the Vikings. Again, if just joining us, the Vikings led it 7-0 after the first drive, and then 3 straight drives in the first half. 77-yard touchdown run for Omro, 64-yard touchdown run, and then a 63-yard touchdown run. Those all in 3 consecutive possessions, and then the first possession of the second half, Omro also scored on. They scored a 11-yard touchdown run to start the second half. All of them coming to the north touchdown, coincidentally.
Sandler pass is incomplete.
Incomplete. Looking for Cole Wiedmeyer that time were the Vikings. Check that. One of the touchdowns today was to the south end zone. That was Trelevin's, or Trelevin. His touchdown came to the south end zone. The other three Omro touchdowns and the WLA touchdown came to the north end zone. WLA need at least 2 more plus a field goal to come on this north end zone here. Here's 3rd and 10. They're going to try to jet Lair out to the right, throws it behind Gensler. Gensler catches it, turns it back to the middle of the field, and gets dragged down there. Stacked up, and Omro took the ball, but they said forward progress was stopped. Omro fans can't believe it. First guy stacked up, Gensler stopped his momentum, and then the second, third players, as you teach, you stack first player, hold him up, second player, rip the ball loose. Gensler comes off the field for the Vikings, and it's 4th down and 1. We expect a Sam Lair sneak here. And timeout Omro, I do believe. Yeah, Omro takes the timeout with 4:27 left here in the 4th. We're going to step aside, come back, finish up this homecoming game when we come back. Fourth and 1 for WLA. And Lair goes under center. He's quarterback sneaked this twice. Instead, the give here is to Cole Wiedmeyer. Wiedmeyer picks up the first down rather easily. The Vikings created a massive hole on that far side. And Cole took it around the right side. First down for the Vikes. 4:18, and the clock is moving again. Vikings trying to hang on to all of their timeouts. They have them all. Omro has 2 left. And that was a false start. Oh, they're going to play through it. Missed that one. That was a pretty clear false start, and Gensler catches it on the far side. Omro's coach can't believe it. It was an underhanded scooping touchdown pass. WLA stopped. I mean, there were a couple WLA players that stopped playing. Cole Wiedmeyer was moving early, and the false start was completely missed. And Lair, credit to him, kept playing through it. So the book would tell you to kick the extra point here. Although, if you're really getting into technical analytics here, I would say the book might say go for 2. Gannon Schwartz puts it through, so that's obviously what you need. If you believe in your 2-point offense, I think the analytics might say go for 2 there. If you make the 2-point conversion, you can kick the extra point on the next one, and then a field goal wins it for you. Something to think about. It's the new age analytics of football, and trust me, I know there's plenty of you out there who are pounding your head into a brick wall right now because you're sick of people telling you that this is what the analytics tells you to do, and the analytics has just become kind of a buzzword for people that like to gamble, I think. these head coaches that at higher levels of football that like to kind of gamble a little bit more. Although I will say this, it makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. If you get that first 2-point conversion, if you think you can convert a 2-point conversion at more than a 50% clip, which most teams do, most teams on average convert over 50% of their 2-point conversions. If that's the case, you really shouldn't be kicking extra points at all. But anyways, I'll get off my soapbox here. The thinking is, if you get the 2-point conversion, you can win the game with a 1-point extra point and then a field goal. All of this assuming you score multiple touchdowns. Gannon Schwartz goes straight up the middle with it. It's touched by a Fox, and I think WLA has the football. They have been so – oh, no.
Kick is recovered by the Foxes.
Omro has it.
They will have the ball first
And it goes back over.
7-yard line.
Man, how did the WLA – I couldn't tell who that was. Keifenheim was part of the pile. There were a couple of other Vikings in there. I couldn't tell who was first there. Looked like the Vikings, after it hit a Fox, had a chance to recover that. But nonetheless, Omro has it with a chance to bleed down this clock. Getting back to the analytics. So if you get it on the first try, there you go. There's your recipe. Kick an extra point on the next one, hit the field goal, you win. That's a lot of things that have to go right for the Vikings. If you don't get it on the first one, but you do get it on the second, obviously it's like kicking 2 extra points anyway. Here goes Henke, 40, 35, 30. He's gone to the end zone. This one is sealed with that run from Cole Henke to the south end zone. He takes it 53 yards to the house, and another long touchdown run for the Foxes. And it is 30-14. Omro, I would assume, goes for 2 here once again. Crowley's 2 kicks so far have both hit the offensive line, so does not look confident trying to kick those extra points. Touchdown runs of 11. Here's the pitch, and the Vikings have done a nice job on the 2-point conversions. That one's not good, and leaves it at 30-14. So it's a 16-point game. So it's still a 2-possession game, so nothing changes for the Vikings. Now you need two touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. So the task remains the same. You got to score twice. The method that you have to take to get there becomes a little bit more challenging because you need the touchdowns now and the 2-point conversions. Instead of 1 touchdown and an extra point and a field goal, you now need 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. But you only need 2 possessions to do both. So, see what the Vikes can do as they send the kick return unit back out there. Touchdown runs of 11, 53, 63, 64, and 77. Close your ears if you are a defensive, kind of a linebacker or a defensive, well, any defensive coach. Don't like to give up those kinds of plays, certainly. But that I don't want to take anything away from Omro either because they've been tremendous running the football. Henke's been tremendous, as billed, really. Cole Henke is a top 5 rusher in the conference, and today he showed why. You certainly, you think of the guys like Kempfner and Schroffnagel and the rest of these great running backs in the Flyway. Campbell Sports got a couple of them, but Henke's right up there with him. He's tough to bring down. Henke's working on, I believe he's over 200 yards. I haven't added anything up yet, but if he's not, he's really close to a 200-yard outing today for the Omro Foxes. Here's Schumacher on the edge and gets slung down there. And it's kind of an awkward tackle there. Schumacher able to get back to his feet, but he kind of got kind of got rolled up on while he was getting tackled as well. It was kind of an awkward looking one that you just hope everyone gets up okay from. So the Vikings going to see playoff hopes go away with this one. There's Schumacher, drops that one and then kind of gets disposed of. There's a late flag there. The Viking fans might have helped call that. I did not think. Now, trying to go, is number 52, Jack Wellhoffer, who was on coverage. It did not look like a late hit. They're going to call it. The Viking fans were booing. They couldn't believe it wasn't a late hit. As soon as the flag went flying, the Omro Foxes fans were booing. They couldn't believe it was. I didn't think it was. So 15 free yards for the Vikings. Also gives them a first down. Would have been a fourth down play. 3 minutes and 6 seconds left here in the ball game. So Vikes have a lot to do to make that call be a big deal, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it could play a big role in this game. Sam Lair looks over the middle to McCauley. It's behind him, and Miles couldn't reach back and sling it in. So
Sam Lair pass intended for Noah Gensler is incomplete. It's 2nd and 10.
2nd and 10 for the Vikes. And at the start of this season, or at the start of this game tonight, there was a lot of the mood was just different. You could just feel it. It was a homecoming crowd, big crowd here today. Maybe the weather kept a couple people away. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you're cozied up on the couch at home watching WLA football. That could be. But homecoming game that just did not go the way that the Vikes thought it might. Sam Lair drops back to pass. Gets swallowed up back there, and his offensive line's going to push him forward. It's only a loss of 1.
3rd and 10 for the Vikings.
After it could have been a loss of much more than that. Actually, they're going to say he got back to the line of scrimmage. Really, since the second half, since halftime of the Mayville game, not much has gone right for the Vikings. Lost to Mayville, lost to Springs, lost to Campbellsport, lost to Laconia, and a loss here today if this one doesn't have some crazy ending to it. Pass caught by Gensler. Gensler ends up going backward and does not get the first down, so it's going to be 4th and 1 for the Vikes.
That'll leave the Vikings with 4th and 1.
Clock continues to run, and it'll tick under 2 minutes. Vikes can stop Omro. They have enough timeouts to stop. If they do stop Omro, that goes thrown up to Miles McCauley, and the 50-50 is won by Omro. I think that was number 12, Bryce Crowley, in coverage there, able to bat it away from Miles McCauley. And now the Vikings can get it back with 3 timeouts. We'll see if they decide to use them. They have all 3. Minute 51 left. 16-point game. Can't give up any first downs. Here's a timeout from WLA. So they're using one on the change of possession.
Vikings take their first time out of the half.
Which now makes...
We'd like to thank Hans Dorst for serving our concessions for the last number of years. Today is his final football game. Thank you,
now that
Hans.
makes the math really interesting on this. Even if you stop them now, you're almost not giving yourself enough time if you're the Vikings to... Very interesting. They use the timeout there, though. Get set up for the defensive possession.
Conclusion of the game, if you see any trash in the bleachers or on the pavement, you could help out the maintenance staff, pick it up, throw it in a receptacle. They would really appreciate that, being this is the final home game. Thank you very much.
So Cole Henke in the pistol formation keeps the ball, going to run behind both of his running backs. Vikings string it out to the far side. Henke breaks 2 tackles, gets a first down. Wow, that is a good run from Cole Henke, and he dives down in bounds. Everything you expect a veteran quarterback to do when you're trying to run out the clock. And now I don't know if the Vikes take any timeouts. We'll see if they just leave it be now. Last home game for Cole Wiedmeyer and Brendan Ebert and Peyton Backery, and it's going to go a little bit awry here for the Vikings. 30-14. Here's Henke once again picking his way, slips.
Cole Henke goes down.
And he goes down. Now that was a
no gain on the play.
That looked to be a later hit than anything on that last possession from Omro. That's all I'll say. It was Jack Karst that went in there on Henke, and Henke's feeling worse for wear. He's not even back in the huddle yet. I wonder if that knocked the wind out of him a little bit. Henke had slipped to the ground, and it was
1 yard on the play.
It was about a full second there. Well, anyways, we'll move on. I do not, look, this is WLA TV, but this is not I'm not going to sit up here and my glasses may have a blue tint to them, but they are not color-coded blue that you can't see anything. And that was a late hit, and it was missed by the officials.
Powers in that quarterback for the Foxes.
So Wyatt Powers comes in at running back, and Crowley will be the quarterback for Omro. And in a game like this, where you're not using your timeouts if you're WLA, there's no need for a hit like that either. And I get playing hard.
Keegan Miller with the carry.
Understand that side of things as well.
Play of today's
That's going to close things out. Omro comes to WLA and ruins homecoming. 30-14. The Vikings could not stop the ground attack of the Foxes. Touchdown runs of 11, 53, 63, 64, and 77. And the Foxes win it 30-14. The Vikings scored by virtue of a couple of Sam Laird and Noah Gensler touchdowns. 11 yards and 13 yards respectively for Sam Laird and Noah Gensler. Skit night was awesome last night. Got everyone fired up, but it was apparent very early in this one that Omro was going to run, and they were going to run, and they were going to run. And the Vikings, unfortunately, on homecoming, not able to stop that run. Foxes trounce and trample the Vikings from Viking Field today. The Vikings still looking for their second conference win. That's now a 5-game losing streak for WLA, and they are 1-5 in the Flyway, and it's tough sledding for them, or it's been tough sledding for them. They will close out their conference slate next week against North Fond du Lac, a game that is against a team that has yet to win a conference game in the North Fond du Lac Orioles. They have yet to win a game overall this season. They're 0-8 and lost 76-22 to Mayville last night. So a chance for the Vikings to end the season on a high note next week, but this Viking team confirmed today with the loss, they will not be playing postseason football this season. So, unfortunate. Had a lot of fun talking about all the different WLA sports. Fall seasons are close to postseason now, and we are within countdown range of basketball and wrestling coming up in the winter, and then obviously the spring sports. We mentioned a little bit about them as well. Missed girls soccer, but they had a tremendous season as well. Flyway Conference championship season a year ago. So thank you for joining us. Jordan King with you, saying so long. It's been a long homecoming week, and but it's been a fun one, hasn't it, here on WLA TV. You started the week with soccer. Soccer got a couple of big wins this week over Kewaskum and Lourdes. It was the volleyball team beating St. Mary's Springs Academy on Tuesday, and had an awesome skit night last night. Kids work so hard to put that together, and they did a great job last night. And then obviously today, unfortunate the Vikings couldn't have a better result out there on the football field, but nonetheless, a good homecoming week. Jordan King bidding you a farewell. Thanks for joining us on WLA TV. Hope we can catch you the next time we have a broadcast. Tuesday's volleyball game will be streamed. Not sure if I'll be along for that one. It's Parents' Night over at the soccer complex, and Vikings taking on the #1 team in the state. So I believe my services will be required over there, but we'll still have the stream for you on WLA TV. So hope you join us for that as the Vikings take on the Warriors of Waupun in their final non-conference regular season game. Then they go to Campbell Sport for volleyball. Jordan King saying so long. Hope you'll join us next time. You've been watching WLA Sports on WLA TV.